Well, hello everybody and welcome to Good News RVA. I'm your host, Micah Gant, and I'm so glad to be with you. And I have some sad news. This is our final episode, our final live episode that is, but I will be keeping in touch with you if you follow us on Facebook, and I'll let you know how to follow along with our show. But today we have a special show. We have a two-part series, two-part program that is, and we are going to be talking about people who are in need around the city of Richmond and the greater metropolitan area. And we are going to speak with people who are addressing those needs in unique ways, and as part of the calling that we have as the body of Christ to take care of those who are in need and who are in pain or suffering or homeless. And so today we're going to get right into our discussion. First, we have three special guests with us from A Place of Miracles Cafe. And I had a chance to visit the cafe and see it in action, and I was very inspired, and I hope you will be too. And first we'll talk to Melissa Ann Morgan, who is the owner and the founder of A Place of Miracles Cafe. And we also have Pam Steele with us, and we have Christie Adams, who participate in the cafe, and we'll get to your roles in a minute. But welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here. So we just want to have a discussion about how it started and what unique ministry, what unique calling you're fulfilling through A Place of Miracles Cafe. And can you first tell us a little bit about A Place of Miracles Cafe and who you serve in Richmond?
Yes, we're right off Jeff Davis corridor in 95, close to Chester, and we primarily focus with some of the families that live in the local motels. There's about 6 of them, and we also serve some of the people that live in the trailer parks along Jeff Davis corridor.
Can you share how you first learned about the poverty that's along the Jeff Davis Highway and where your ministry is now serving? And I just want to say that I was surprised to learn about the poverty issues that are in that stretch particularly. Yes. And I also want to say that you see people who are homeless, or you pass by them all the time, but this is a very unique population because they are on the brink of homeless, not quite homeless, and living in these hotels. How did you first discover that?
Well, back in August 2012, my husband and I were at a 7-Eleven close to the motels, and we saw a young man enter the 7-Eleven with a backpack and a small child, and he was stealing some food for his little girls who seemed to be 3 or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And then we watched him walk back over to the motels. And within a couple of weeks, I was riding in the area, and I was noticing a lot of children were getting off the buses at these 6 motels. So my husband and I just started small out of his truck, and what we did was deliver Panera bread and book bags and supplies on a weekly basis.
So I was going to ask you about that, actually. So you discovered what was happening, and your initial reaction wasn't, oh, this man is stealing from 7-Eleven. You realized the need there, and that he was doing this to take care of his family. Right. And I just think it's interesting that then something prompted you to kind of look, your eyes opened to the need that was around the area.
Yes.
And obviously, it took some time. How long did it take before A Place of Miracles Cafe?
We got in the building in November 2014, and we did our first Thanksgiving meal. The building was in bad shape. We just had remodeled. And began the remodeling process.
So let's back up just a moment, though. Before that happened, which was, so 2012 is when you first discovered the issue, and 2014 is when the cafe came alive.
Right.
Was that part of your vision at first, is to let's open a cafe, or how did you begin to address those needs during that time?
Well, we knew we needed a building because it was becoming too large. Mm-hmm. And So when we looked at the building and we talked to the owner, and he liked the vision that we had to open up a place where families could come in and have meals and donated food on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm. And so what did you do to address some of those needs before actually launching in 2014?
Well, what we did was contact local nursery schools, and they would do food drives, local churches, and they did food drives. And we started with totes with tots for children under 4 that were living in the motels that didn't get free breakfasts and lunches at school. They were one of the biggest population that was suffering, along with some elderly families that are living in the motels also.
I didn't realize that. So why were they not getting free meals?
Well, they were under 4, so
Okay.
in school age is 5.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And then we've seen a lot of mamas that were pregnant and having small babies that needed baby food and formula and diapers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did that for a while, and then you officially opened in 2014.
Yes.
Got it. And can I ask you why the name A Place of Miracles Cafe?
Well, the people really need hope. And one of the things that we strive to do there is have hope for the families, that there are people that love and care for them, and there are resources that we can tap into. We just need more people to come on board that have a heart, because they're in a life situation with the rent being so high in a motel. It's hard for them to save enough money to pay for the first month's rent and
Right.
a deposit on a home, and also pay there.
And I did want to ask you about this. Pam, you might be able to speak to this as well. First of all, what is your role at A Place of Miracles Cafe?
Well, we don't really have as much defined roles. I
Yeah.
kind of coordinate between who needs what and try to figure out who needs what, and try to find resources to get some of those things met. It's not really an official position, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of the one I've fallen into.
Have you been with Melissa since the beginning? Or-
Well, at one point, Melissa called me before she started the cafe, and she was heading up a school supply drive, and I can remember rounding up some notebook paper and some binders and some things, and so that's how it kind of started. And then we started with when we got the building and the first Thanksgiving that we didn't even have power.
Whoa.
And we served Thanksgiving dinner. We brought our Thanksgiving dinners from home.
I can't
and
even
had
imagine that.
Thanksgiving dinner at this motel with basically lanterns and.
Wow. I was going to
and
say, how did
things.
you have light? So that must have been a
We
cozy
hadn't even
meal.
gotten the building into the proper repair to have the power
Right,
cut on.
right. Well, can you tell me a little bit about what some of the difficult challenges are that these that people that don't have stable housing and are living in these motels? What are some of the challenges that they're facing?
Well, part of the challenge is they live in a motel room, so they have really nowhere to cook. I mean, they have a little microwave, and they have a little apartment-size, motel-size refrigerator, and they don't have anywhere to store food. They don't really have anywhere to cook a home-cooked meal. Some of these children are so happy to get a homemade bowl of soup or a homemade spaghetti dinner. They're just so happy to get that, because that's something that they don't get, because they're just they're just not able to provide that for their families. And some of the other challenges is, like she said, I sell real estate for a living as well, so I understand the housing problem with having the right kind of credit to buy or rent a house, and then you've got to have the first month's deposit, and you've got to have a deposit for your electric, and sometimes even some of the apartments go back 20 years for a criminal records check. And even if they can round the rest of it up, there's another strike that they have that they've got to hurdle if they've ever had a problem in the past, or their significant other, or one of their other family members that's living with them.
Right.
So you have whole families. We have one particular family that I think about a lot that have been there the whole time, and it's 3 little girls and a mom and a dad, and they all live in one room. The little girls are on the honor roll, so they don't fit the stereotype of a people living in a motel.
Right. Yeah.
But they're struggling, but they're still trying to maintain their family identity, their family relationships. They're striving to maintain, like I said, the little girls are on the honor roll, so they're striving to maintain a lifestyle.
Sense of normalcy as
of
well.
some kind of
Yeah.
normal life. So they had that, and then they had, the hopelessness that they have to deal with on a daily basis of how do we get out of this, which is, I think, one of the things that we really do provide for them is a place to come and talk about what they're dealing with and how they're feeling and what their struggles are. And sometimes if they can't think of a way out of it, maybe someone else who's been there can give them some ideas or just some encouragement.
Right. That's really important because facing a situation like that, I'm sure, can be really discouraging. So having that kind of support just to talk it out even.
Well, and if you think
really
about
good.
it, they have one room. They really don't even have anywhere to store winter clothes. Or off-season clothing or toys for their children.
Right.
They have to have a very bare minimum of possessions, and it's an all-around whole lifestyle that I think most people in today, that don't have that would never even think of some of those challenges.
Right, exactly. That's why I'm wanting to touch on some. We can't touch on all of them right now because we're only here for about 20 minutes, but I just think it's really interesting. When I first heard about it, a friend of ours basically told me about it, and I was really intrigued and thinking, Jeff Davis Highway, first of all, I know where that is, but I'm not quite sure what the issues are that are there. So it's in your face, but not really in your face. It's kind of behind the scenes, these issues that are happening that you guys are addressing. And I want to ask you, how does a Place of Miracles try to meet some of these needs that go beyond providing a meal? And Christie, feel free to, first of all, I want to ask you, how are you involved with the Place of Miracles Cafe?
Well, I found out about it almost a year and a half ago, and Melissa had wanted me to be partnering with her over all the ministry aspects and assisting. So, for example, when we've had like the Thanksgiving outreach, there were people that over in the hotel that couldn't come over. It was a family that had, the mother particularly, who had a baby, and her C-section stitches were so infected from not being properly taken care of that we wanted to go visit her. I went to visit her and we prayed, but then we can encourage her to get to the hospital and went to see her there, and then eventually she and her whole family, she had several kids there, and that helped connect them to get into another stable housing. But just so many people just need to be listened to and heard, and then have that extra encouragement to step away from abusive situations, in that particular case, but also just of all the different issues, whether it's addiction or just the homelessness and having the credit issues, the poverty. It's just someone to speak life into that, and to love and to not judge, but to so we have the tangible things, but sometimes they just need prayer. They're broken, they're crying, they're hurting, and maybe they don't know the Lord, or maybe they do, but they've been hurt by a number of different circumstances or people. And so we're just bringing what we know, what we've experienced to that, and pulling in other, of course, many other ministries to help. So, so prayer for healing, whether it's inner healing and physical, and just everything, just a touch from the Lord. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. And about how many families or how many people are being served, whether on a daily or weekly basis, would you say?
It varies because we do the meals Tuesday through Friday, anywhere from 20 families to 80 families.
Wow. Okay. And so I want to know, like, it has to be challenging. It's a joy on one hand to serve. It has to be challenging, because of needs that come up. What would you say are three of a Place of Miracles Cafe, three of your most pressing needs at this time?
Well, one of the things that we always need, some of the things that we always need baby items. We need diapers, we need formula, we need baby bottles, clothing, we need children's items, we need clothing for the children. They're getting ready to start school, book bags, school supplies. Some of the things that we've come into contact even with the adults is we have fathers or single men who are there working, and they're walking to a job 3 miles away in a pair of shoes that has a hole
Did you say
in it.
walking?
Yes. That's one of the biggest issues that they have is most of them have no transportation. You know, there's
And
no
there's
bus,
not a
there's
bus
no bus
service?
service there. We've, you know, that the Chesterfield is looking into that, but so far it has not happened. So they have no way to get, you know, just 3 miles down the road to a job. Or we've got one little girl who wants to start college, and she doesn't know how she's going to get there every day because she doesn't have a car. So that's part of the thing. They're walking with shoes with holes in the soles. And so we always need clothing. We always need baby items, children's items. We also need resources because many of these people, we could get them out of these situations if we could find some landlords who might be willing to work with them on deposits,
Right.
who might be willing to work with them on you know, some type of program to help them rent a place.
How does that work? Do you have connections, I guess?
We don't really have,
Yeah.
well, other than that we try to connect with people that we know that rent, and we, you know, connect with everybody we know through churches and through organizations. We have some other organizations that we work with that are trying to help them with homelessness and near homelessness. And plus some of the, like I said, the local churches and stuff help us with that. But we really need all the resources we could get to find some. It's hard to work with rental places that are like large. You really need people who own property that are on an individual basis that could make a decision to take a chance and take a risk and maybe let them have a payment plan for the deposit. So we're always looking for that. And the other thing that we're always, of course, looking for is we're always looking, and it's an awful thing to have to say, you know, but we always need money because none of us makes any money on this. Every dime we get goes straight to the water bill, the electric bill, or the resources that we're handing out. And every month it's a struggle. Renting out the building.
Yeah.
Every month it's a struggle to pay the electric bill, pay the water bill, and keep, you know, you don't get a free rent just because you're doing good.
Right.
So you have to, you know, we've got to start addressing that. We've been doing repairs on this building, and we've had to come up with shingles and floorboards and, you know, all kinds of things. So that's all, you know, some of that is stuff that we've needed, and Lowe's and some of the other places have helped us with some of that.
And the Chesterfield Food Bank donates to...
Yeah, Chesterfield Food Bank donates the food to go home on Fridays for all the families, and the summer bags for the children when they're out of school. They get their breakfasts and lunches there. And then Olive Garden in Colonial Heights does the Friday night meal, and also Panera Bread.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I just I want to ask you, because we only have about a minute or so left, we pass by people, like I said, all the time who are homeless, or we see some of the issues that are around. What are some ways that you think, maybe 1 or 2 ways that we can start ministering to those needs? If we don't have a building, but we're in another area that's facing something similar, what would you say?
Just when you see someone that may be homeless on the side of the road, having little care packages in your car, which like would be toothpaste and hand sanitizer and napkins and just little basic toiletries that they may need. And also, if you go to a restaurant, you can just buy a little to-go box and hand it out to them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And one last question for you. What is the big picture, the future of A Place of Miracles?
Well, when you come in, we want to have bands on Friday nights, different worship teams. We want different churches to partner with us so that we have more people that are sitting together in the community and loving on one another.
Community is important. Right?
Yes, and honor. And we also have a little area for the children to play in since they're cooped up in their motel rooms. It's a place where they can spread out and just enjoy toys. And we have several women that come and do art with the children and the adults.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
part
wonderful.
of it. Yeah.
Well, I'm really encouraged to hear what you all are doing and how you got started and how you're addressing this need. My eyes are certainly open to some of the issues that are around here, and I look forward to being in touch with you in the future.
Sooner or later